S 2023-0106-2117. The right to constituent services. A draft proposal for a bill to respect Amendment 1 by ascertaining constituency representation submitted by the private citizen by Radcliffe Bancroft radcliffe.lewis@outlook.com. To the Clerk of the House, 118th Congress of the United States of America, info.clarkweb@mail.house.gov. Overview. The constitutional mandates that the House shall choose their Speaker. Article 1, Section 2. At the same time, the Congressional Research Service premises that Congress is not obligated to attend to constituency services, however. The alteration of the Constitution without consideration of the reverberational effects of Amendment 17 on Article 1, Section 2, creates a peculiar effect. Currently in Congress, all elected officials are popularly elected, but with officers of the House being either appointed, or in the case of the Speaker, elected by the House and only the House. As per Article 2 still. The result of rendering the Senate being popularly elected while leaving the officers of the Congress merely appointed creates a situation where the offices in both chambers, Senate, and House, become the offices of state. The representatives, populists without regard for the Constitution, and the senators, beholden more to foreign interests, than to citizens of the Union, or to the states. The result is a misalignment where the framers of Amendment 17 have crafted a state of affairs that is out of alignment with the original intent of the Founding Fathers, the preamble, and the will of the people within that context. This proposal aims to correct this misalignment. We may either revoke Amendment 17 as it is written, or create an amendment that supersedes it. We need to admit that which we all know too well. That the Speaker is but a de facto premier, and should be chosen, not within the chamber of this sub-parliament, Congress, the House, but by the people, likewise through the popular vote. When it comes to application of direct voting, this proposal is an all-or-nothing proposal. 1 proposal. To any member of Congress to submit as, or incorporate with the submission of some relevant bill. I now submit this draft for a proposed bill, and stand in support of any bill put forward to open up the selection of the Speaker of the House so that the public can decide by simple majority vote who should be Speaker. The office of the Speaker of the House should also be required to receive and direct the treatment of constituency services from citizens, nationals, and permanent residents of the United States of America regardless of such individual citizens' voting district. The office may not necessarily address the material aspects of such grievances filed, but ascertain the constituency grievances, when filed, are attended to by the committee that the Speaker selects to address such particular grievance. Points to consider. The last clause of Article 1, Section 2 states, "The House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers, and shall have the sole power of impeachment." According to the Congressional Research Office, casework is not required of members of Congress, but it is commonly expected by constituents. Ekman and Peterson. However, Amendment 1 states, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." 3. Counteraction. I now challenge the Ekman-Peterson suggestion. They are in error. Basis: deprivation of rights under color of law. If we look at these 3 bullet points backwards, we see first that Congress shall make no law prohibiting or abridging the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. Redress of grievances are not submitted only in the form of claims to the executive branch, such as tort claims, nor in the form of lawsuits. In fact, the latter is supposed to be provided as a last resort, common law, and courts will dismiss claims that are not brought to the executive branch first. However, the 3 branches are separate, and that means the people also have the right to bring claims to the legislative branch on an individual basis, with the expectation that they shall be attended to. Therefore, It is wrong to assert that the individual is not entitled to have claims brought to the legislative branch address by the legislature. Constituency services are therefore not limited to mere ceremonial issue. Moreover, in this light, the Congress is, so far as I am concerned, do quite a dismal job of providing services related to the following: acquisition of replacement Social Security cards, acquisition of replacement Library of Congress cards, acquisition of veterans' identification cards that banks will accept. Instead of allowing states to capture veterans' identification using the driver's license regulations gambits, listening to veterans to ascertain that the billions of dollars appropriated for veterans' services do not become mere pork barrel fleecing opportunities for opportunists to use veterans like cash cows to line their pockets. Even while veterans are left wanting, unsupported, and overall disrespected by the community at large under the implied supposition that an individual who is a veteran, but not rich, is a damned fool. Ripe for further exploitation, such as in regards to identification theft, resolving a certain clandestine agent who presides over civil matters in the District of Columbia Superior Court while being a representative of the United States to the Hague Convention at the same time. And resolution of unlawful conduct detected in the District of Columbia regarding fiscal matters, the District of Columbia Lottery and Charitable Games Board. These are specific grievances which are submitted in one way or another and nevertheless not being adequately addressed by the Congress of the United States at this time, and which can easily be addressed through the constituency services processes were the Congress to respect the last clause of Amendment 1. On a broader scale, if the Congress does not desire to engage these matters directly, then the Congress should be required to redirect such matters if they are brought to the Congress on a case-by-case basis under the mantra of constituent services. Especially when elected members reach out to constituents, would-be constituents, and pro-se parties, not lobbyists for others, with a request or expectation of the filing of privacy release forms in order to such congressional members to proceed. The last thing a member of the public wants to hear from a member of Congress or their staff are statements like, "I don't have time for this, Norton. You are not my constituent because you are using a mailing address from outside my district, even though when this issue arose, you were in my district and voted there, and for me, Van Hollen. I am running to be a senator in Congress even though I am a representative right now, but even though you are a citizen of my state. You are not a constituent in my district, so you need to speak to someone else." Donna Edwards. 5 further egregious considerations. These kinds of excuses become all the more egregious when citizens witness Congress after Congress, 117th, 116th, 115th, 114th, and so on, being of service to globs upon globs of illegal aliens who willfully and deliberately set foot into the country with no passport, no visa, no basis other than economic demand on their part, and with no intention to be of allegiance to the Constitution of the United States, much less to read it, speak English, or give any respect to those of us who have borne the battle to safeguard it, while divesting our entitlements, such as healthcare, housing assist, and financial matriculation, in order to assign such resources to such illegal aliens. The 117th Congress for its part took this kind of exploitation to new heights with billion-dollar treasury notes assigned to the following countries so far: China, Afghanistan, Ukraine, Switzerland, Israel, to name few. Simply put, members of Congress have been spending too much time and effort representing foreign nationals and foreign nations, excluding immigrants who legally and lawfully seek to become permanent representatives and citizens without subjecting themselves to sex trafficking, fake marriages, and overall debaucherous, immoral, and exploitative conduct, that the state of the nation in terms of vitality, productivity, and stability is now at risk. As for the top spot, Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi has demonstrated to the current generation that the position she held is as powerful as being a prime minister or premier in other countries. such as those in the British Commonwealth. Let us not deceive ourselves about this. This consideration, coupled with the current disarray in the House where the tyranny of Mr. McCarthy pushing the "I want it" button not less than 6 times in 2 days to trying each time to obtain a different result from before, insanity, prompts me to look again at the manner in which the Speaker is selected. 6. Error of the framers and the effect of the popular vote co-opted. The assumption of the framers of the 17th Amendment is that the representatives in Congress would listen to their constituents. And such constituents would be the people of the districts from where they were elected into offices the last go-round. And not the foreigners they intend to replace their in-district opponents with by the time of the next election. That is, the ascension of some elected representative was never meant to provide said representative and the party with which he or she caucuses the opportunity to chase American citizens and residents out of their domiciles and other residences using oppressive measures, sometimes lethal, to the point where they end up with no fixed address, dwelling in tents, or for their own sake fleeing to Florida, Texas, and Tennessee just to escape abrasive police-enforced tyranny the likes what we the people have experienced over the past few years. Particularly over the past 2 years. I never thought I would see the day when the United States of America would institute mass incarceration of the populists styled as lockdowns. While the greatest beneficiaries of things like freedom of speech and access to commerce speak so loftily of implementing regiments to aid and abet mass depopulation, die-off, to reduce the world population to 500 million people, while trying to influx the United States with 650 million people, and yes, those are the miscalculative numbers being tossed around. While nobody considers well that those arrogant ones are probably ripe for a long stint in a funny farm. So we know now that this assumption on the part of the framers is a wrong assumption indeed, because whether by Amendment 17 or otherwise, we have this problem where once elected, the representatives appear to have unfettered hand to move away from the promises made in their campaign platforms and advocate for laws that the people, who popularly elected them, mind you, never agreed to. And would not ever agree to, and alas, by the time the people get to recall them, it is too late because much of the very people who elected them, even they are removed from their districts through economic hardship, or harassment otherwise, right along with their opponents, and what comes in are a people that no one knows of, and these days, that appear not in any wise to be citizen of the United States, or adherents to the precepts laid out in the Constitution. The only people left appear to be exploiters who smirk when they even take tweaked oaths that look like they swear to they uphold the Constitution, when in fact nothing could be further from the truth. Consider here the judges of the District of Columbia Circuit. They take tweaked oaths, circuit executive, whatever that is. The condition is such now that either the call of so many that pushed for ratification of Amendment 17, for the Senate, were wrong, or the idea of abridged voting is wrong. Sadly, the latter is the case for the Congress, where in accordance with Article 1, the abridged system allows for the representatives to choose the Speaker of the House, even though the representatives are popularly elected. This makes for a peculiar situation where the offices of both chambers are abridgedly elected or appointed, but the members themselves are popularly elected, yet as I explain above. The popular voting system only federates the election process away from the interest of the citizens and in the interest of foreign nationals with foreign interest intents. This situation is a greater threat to the hegemony of the United States than the expected demise of the petrodollar, which never really served our interest anyway. 7. Loss of confidence in oversight. Furthermore, absent any respect for the final clause in Amendment 1 within the legislative branch, no venue exists to ensure that the members of Congress, any of them, remain loyal to the people who elect them, or to the Constitution of the United States of America, to which it is commonly understood they swore to uphold. Members of Congress these days do not really worry about the popular vote. Much like with the implementation of the Gatling gun ended the reign of the samurai of Japan, and to my heuristic recollection of that bit of history. Had it been introduced only 1 year earlier, would have turned the tide of the Civil War and prolonged the tyranny of chattel slavery. The implementation of digital voting machines have so far all but put an end to American and worldwide preservation of universal suffrage through the popular or any other kind of people vote. The promise of equalized apportionment through schemes like that of Amendment 17 becomes a fleeting case of delusionalism when technocrats are able to manipulate voter rolls and voting tallies using electronic vote rigging. For those who claim no rigging has occurred, you spend your time trying to argue against confidence lost. Even the turncoat admirals on the decks of your finest warships sipping Starbucks coffee in the middle of the ocean can tell you a thing or two about loss of confidence. The only thing the last batch of elected representatives in the previous Congresses appeared to have been paying attention to is how much money the World Economic Forum will kick back in the direction using insider trading schemes. 8. The need for robust constituency representation in alignment with Amendment 1. The influx of this new 118th Congress appears to have a few people here and there who may be a little bit more enlightened and a little bit more conscientious to realize that if they continue under the paths laid out by the 117th Congress, they aim only to shoot themselves in their own body parts least desirable by leaning on the horns of the altars of self-gratification and devil-may-care green gas, and so forth. People like McCarthy, who figures the best way forward is to throw a repeat 10 times election vote for me tantrum, displays the kind of self-gratification tyrannical arrogance that we the people must rebuff if we want to have any kind of future, for the world, for the country, and even for ourselves individually. This requires a robust level of oversight monitoring that the Congress of the United States as an institution can only develop and enjoy, if, and only if, the institution respects the right of the people to petition the legislative branch of the government for redress of grievances on a case-by-case basis. Such is the nature of true constituency services. Signatory Radcliffe, January 5, 2023.